Alex Pereira is definitely one of my favorite fighter. Absolutely love the way he fights. I think that he is one of the most interesting guy to watch, and I adore his fighting style. And I have been his fan for years already, and when I saw his debut in UFC, I was just already addicted to his fights. I saw his almost every kickboxing match that I could see, and I am a huge fan of him. But I do believe that this fight against Hill is a very, very dangerous one for Alex. And I wanted to show you some data which I think can be quite interesting and also slightly alarming for us Pereira's fans, but let's go ahead and still see it. He already had 40 kickboxing fights. That's already a lot. And if you have seen his fights, the way he fights, it's almost always very aggressive. He most of the times does not really care about his defense that much because he wants to trade. He almost always has the power advantage, so he's completely happy if it's gonna be a trade, because if you hurt him, he's gonna hurt you even more. So he likes that. And he also has some boxing matches, as you can see here, and he has lots of, like, not lots of, but 11 MMA matches, and he has been very active in couple of years, in the last couple of years. And we can see here even more precisely that he had a really tough fights also against some opponents. Let's begin with his UFC career. Like, of course, the first fight against Andres Mikhailidis, that was very one-sided. I mean, that Greek guy was controlling Alex for some time, but afterwards he got hit with a knee in the head and he got knocked out. But against Bruno Silva, he actually did take some noticeable damage, some significant damage. Against Sean Strickland, of course, he did not take any damage in that fight. Against Adesanya, he did take a damage. And we gotta also understand that he cut so much weight to fight at middleweight. It's not an easy task for a guy who is this huge to cut that much weight. So that also affects the health of a fighter very significantly. And the second fight against Adesanya, of course, he got knocked out, and he got knocked out pretty bad. I mean, it was a clean knockout. He was laying down for some time. It was no TKO or something. It was a clean KO. Afterwards, he had a really competitive match against Jan Blachowicz, where he did not really take that much damage, but it was still it was still a relatively tough fight, especially when you're going against an ex-champion, a former champion like Jan Blachowicz. Of course, you're gonna have a tough fight. And the last fight against Jiří Procházka, he definitely did take a damage in that fight. Now, the good thing about Alex is that he changed the weight class. It means that he's not gonna dehydrate himself as much as he was doing previously, but on the other hand, these guys also hit harder. Jan Blachowicz hits very hard. Jan Procházka, of course, he hits unbelievably hard, and now he's going against Hill, and that guy also has lots of power. We can see that Jamahal Hill, like, that guy has 7 KOs, and if you have seen his last fights, like, even though he could not really finish Glover, he did inflict unbelievable amount of damage, and Glover was almost always hurt. He won that fight via decision, but oh my goodness, maybe it would have been even better for Glover if he just got KO'd. And you can see that last couple of fights, he also won via KO. This guy has unbelievable power. But we underestimate him because he does not fight aesthetically, like his fighting style is not aesthetically pleasing. He has power, he gets the job done. I mean, it's clear that he gets the job done. He has 12 wins and only one loss, and that one loss was against Paul Craig, and he managed to like dislocate the shoulder of heel. That was the main reason why he lost that fight. But other than that, this guy wins. So he's not a journeyman, even though he fights kinda. I mean, his fighting style is kinda ugly, and he sometimes get fat. He sometimes doesn't really seem that he's very serious about this fighting game. He's very, very dangerous, and it's not about being aesthetically pleasing. If you have power, if you have precision, if you have speed, you're gonna still have a very serious chances of winning this fight. And that's why I do believe that he is a very, very dangerous opponent for Alex Pereira. And we have seen Alex perform really damn well, like in his last fights. But on the other hand, as I have already mentioned, this guy has been in so many wars. He's 36 years old, which is not that old, but considering that he has a very aggressive style, he has been knocked out, he got hurt against when he was fighting against Yuri Prohaska, it's quite possible that we might see him getting knocked out. And I want to also show you some UFC stats. Here we can see that they both have this similar stature, like they are both quite tall, the weight is same, the reach is same. Of course the stance is different, one is orthodox and heel fights in southpaw stance. But other than that, here we can see that there are some very significant differences. And for example, here, strikes landed per minute. As we can see, Alex Pereira is very active. 5 strikes landed per minute is actually pretty, 5 significant strikes landed per minute is actually pretty high, but as we can see, he is even more active. This guy always fights with high tempo. He likes to put pressure on his opponents, and he does not really fight passively. He's a very active guy when he fights, and his striking accuracy is also pretty good. It's not as good as Pereira's, but it is still decent, and he absorbs less strikes. Of course, you gotta understand that maybe Pereira fought better opponents, so that also could affect this data, and it does not mean that it's completely true, but it's gonna give us some kind of useful information which we can use to predict this fight. And the defense percentage is also very similar, 50 against 47. They don't grapple, if they grapple, I'm actually not gonna be surprised if Alex is actually a better grappler. So I don't really think that we will see so much grappling there. And if Alex grapples, like if he gets hurt and if he shoots a takedown, I'm not gonna be very surprised, because this guy is always training his wrestling and grappling, and he gets better and better. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. It's not bad. Right, now I want to show you one more data. Here we can see on like MMAtopology.com, we can see that most of the MMA fans do believe that Pereira will win. It's 75% against 25%. That's too much, I really do not think that reflects reality very accurately, I do believe that he has at least 40% chance of winning this fight. He definitely has at least 40% chance. Now you might say, Pereira will leg kick him and it's gonna be over. It might be like that. It might be that he damages the Hill's legs, and he might win that fight quite easily. But on the other hand, Hill is a physically very strong guy. He's quite tall. He's quite lengthy, and he will most likely touch Pereira. And we don't really know how much durability is left in Pereira. You know, how much more he can take, because he has these wars. He has these wars every single year, couple of times per year. He has these wars, so I don't really know how much he's gonna be able to endure, and I have the feeling that the time is coming. So I would still say that Pereira is like currently a favorite, but 25% chance for Hill, that's too low. You know, I do believe that Hill definitely has a higher chance of winning. Even though his fighting style is ugly, he's not that bad. He's actually pretty damn good. Right?